Moving on to the next section here, I can use a trig ratio to find an unknown side in a right triangle. So now we're going to use our trig ratios to actually find something that's unknown. In this case, it's going to be a side. So when we set up our trig ratios, our angle will be known, but our side will have an x in it, an unknown. We're going to start out by practicing using our calculator to round some of these numbers, calculate them, round it to the nearest 10,000th, meaning 4 decimal places. So to do this, we need to type this in our calculator. And you're going to start out by pushing the button that says tan. And then you're going to type in the number of degrees that it says right after and hit enter or equals. And you should get for this first one an answer of 1. So give that a try. Tan 45, it should equal 1. If you're getting anything other than that, it is possible that your calculator is in something called radian mode, meaning that it's using a different type of angle measure than degrees, and it's interpreting 45 as meaning something else, which is a big issue. Come talk to somebody who can help adjust that for you. Going on, let's try one more, just make sure things are working right. Cosine of 1. 1 degree is a really tiny thing. And when you look at this decimal that comes out, you've got a lot of numbers to deal with. So it says 0.99984. So 0.999 and then 84. The fourth digit is the 8, followed by a 4, so you round down, so 0.9998 is sufficient. You continue to do that for all of these problems, and we're going to go straight down here to some of these more complicated examples. It says find the missing side, round to the nearest 10th. So now once we get our answer for x, we're just going to go like 0.1 or 0.7 or something like that, 1 decimal place. I always start by highlighting my angle that I'm given. In this case, the angle I'm given besides the right angle is 37 degrees. I need to figure out what trig ratio I can use given the numbers, given the things that I've been given here. And I am given the hypotenuse, x, not necessarily told what that length is, but it is labeled as something I care about, x. And I'm also given the one across from 37 degrees. That's our opposite side. So I have our opposite, and I also have our hypotenuse, our longest side. So opposite and hypotenuse. I am not given the adjacent side, so the adjacent side is not given to me. I need to figure out which of my sine, cosine, or tangent ratios are going to work. I'm going to go back up to the notes we took earlier, and opposite and hypotenuse are used in this one right here, the sine function. So sine is the one I'm going to use in this example. When you write out the sine, it is going to be sine of the angle. So the angle is 37 degrees. Sine of 37 degrees is equal to opposite on top over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 37 equals 14 over x. My goal at this point is I have an equation, I have an x in it, I need to get x alone. Before I try to get x alone, I want to clear out my fractions. That should always be your first step, is clear out the fractions. So to both sides of the equation, I'm going to multiply by whatever is in the denominator, whether it's a number or x, I don't care. Multiply both sides by that. So x, multiply both sides by x. Since I have a fraction, I have x on top and x on bottom. Those reduce to 1. They go away, essentially, from my problem. I am now left with x times sine 37. This is one big thing. You don't need to write parentheses, but it might help you if you write them there. Is all equal to just 14. We want to get x alone. So x is now over here. We want to get x alone. And in order to do that, we need to divide both sides by the thing that x is multiplied by. In this case, it's sine 37. The whole thing, not 37, sine 37. This whole big chunk, it comes as a group. You can never break it up. Sine does not have any value by itself. Sine of some angle will give you a number, but sine, that'd be like saying I'm going to divide by plus sine. You can't do that. So you have to take the whole group with you. So we're going to divide by sine 37. And on this side, sine 37 over sine 37, those reduce away. So we're left with just x on the left if we're going to clean this up. And on the right side, we have a 14 on top divided by a sine 37 on bottom because those x's had cleared out earlier. And this is what we actually type in our calculator. You would type in 14 divided by, and you can just straight type in sine of 37. It's helpful, good habit to close that parenthesis on that in your calculator, and you should get 23.26. And if we round it, 23.3. So make sure you type it in your calculator, pause it real quick, get the same thing, 23.3 when you round it. That is going to be this missing side, 23.3. That's what x is. And if we look at the picture, if this is 14, this is definitely longer, but not like super longer. It's not twice as long, so 23.3 actually makes a lot of sense. And that's going to be our answer. We round to the nearest tenth. We are done with that problem. Let's go ahead and do one more quick example. Let's use this one right here. We are given the angle 17 degrees, that's this angle right here, and we are given two sides. We are given the longest side of this triangle, the hypotenuse, that's 11. And we are given the side that is connected to the angle, not the one opposite, but the one that is adjacent. Adjacent means next to. So we have adjacent and hypotenuse. Let's go check our list of stuff up above. Adjacent and hypotenuse. That's going to be this one right here, cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is the one that's going to have to go on top, and we're going to use cosine. So let's go back to our problem, and we said that we're using cosine. So cosine of, and we always use the angle when we do this, so cosine of 17 degrees is equal to the opposite on top, or sorry, the adjacent on top, which is x in this case, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 11 in this case. You'll notice this time the x ended up on top instead of on bottom. Sometimes that happens. Our goal first, before we try to even get x alone, is get rid of fractions. So fractions cause problems. Let's clear them out. I have an 11 on the denominator. I need to multiply both sides by 11 in order to make sure I clear that fraction without breaking any of the laws of math. By multiplying both sides on top by 11, these clear out to 1, leaving me with just x on this side. And conveniently, that means that we have x alone. This was one step. That's very nice. On the left side, we have 11 times cosine 17. You can straight up type that into your calculator. 11 times cosine of 17. And it leaves you a 10.51, which rounds to just 10.5. So this side becomes 10.5 equal to x. Means that we think that this adjacent side here is 10.5. Based on our picture, it looks like it's just a little bit less than 11. So 10.5 is probably going to be our winner. Continue working through all of these with that same approach. Figure out what sides you have, adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse, which two of the three are in your picture. Choose a ratio, sine, cosine, or tangent to use in the problem, and then plug in your angle, set up your equation, and solve for x. Lots of moving parts here going on, so make sure you take your time, do one step at a time, but when you do that, it shouldn't be too bad. Good luck.